In the stillness before the first step, know this. The Academy does not promise you a future, only the chance to earn one. That desperate chance is calling now, as a spy walks beside you and your own body keeps the count. Become a core warrior. Return as a vassal after entering the military. Difficulty, the military academy, or demonic academy as it's known, was the premier education center of the sect. It was qualitatively different from the basic training centers. This one supervises all education. 100 people were accepted per year, with the aim of producing only 3 or 4 of the very best. It had benefits, but it had shortcomings too. That is, your life wasn't guaranteed. And death was the only way out. Become a bodyguard. After personal guidance from Nok Jiangguan, become the Earth Demon's personal bodyguard. Difficulty, Elder Nok Jiangguan was ranked 94th in the sect. His personal guidance was bound to help Seol-Hwi improve by a lot. However, his fiery personality would make the training quite a trial. He'd need to think about situations where the training got out of hand, and he ended up crippled again. Still, there was a lot to be said about becoming the Earth Demon's bodyguard. It might even be possible to eliminate the Lord of the Supreme Pavilion with the right title. Of course, a lofty position would grant him an in-depth understanding of the sect's politics, but this was the demonic sect. Titles had to be earned with strength. Become a secret warrior. Assassinate a person of importance. Difficulty, this one confused Seol-Hwi. Person of importance? Did that mean he had a choice? It gave off ominous vibes. Let's take the easiest option. No matter what he chose, survival was his top priority. So long as he was alive, he had a chance to turn the situation around. You have selected. Become a core warrior. That's good, the Earth Demon nodded. However, there are 6 more days until you can join. I'll head down and talk with the clerk on the first floor, so wait in the basement floor. Do something useful there. Thank you. Well, this much is expected. Ah, by the way, down there you should find a book called The 3 Primary Essences Instruction Manual. There must be martial arts in it that you can use. Seol-Hwi was startled when the Earth Demon brought up the book he'd used in his previous life. I'm serious. Didn't that imply he was keeping an eye on Seol-Hwi? Seol-Hwi began to understand how the Earth Demon had acted in the past. Wait. Seol-Hwi remembered there were 2 arts in the book he didn't get to learn. I think it was here. Seol-Hwi made his way to the basement as soon as the Earth Demon was out of sight and beelined straight for the pile of books in the corner. However, he couldn't find the right book. It had been glowing in the past, but not anymore. It was definitely around here somewhere. Seol-Hwi quickly shuffled through the books. He knew a text message would appear when he picked up the right book. White Light Demonic Arts Learning. Fiery Bare-Handed Demonic Arts Possible. Peak Flourishing Demonic Arts Possible. Yes! Seol-Hwi's body trembled with excitement. The martial arts the Lord of the Supreme Pavilion had learned, and many more lied in these pages, and now they were his. White Light Demonic Arts Learning. Fiery Bare-Handed Demonic Arts Possible. Peak Flourishing Demonic Arts Possible. Fiery Bare-Handed Demonic Arts. Red Hot Palm, no choices this time. With the White Light Demonic Arts, Seol-Hwi got to choose what he wanted to learn. This time there was only an unfamiliar art called the Red Hot Palm. Ah, hand, probably because it's a fist-type art. A pale shadow appeared in front of him as it had in the past. However, it wasn't holding a sword this time. The shadow curled its fingers into a fist and slowly demonstrated how the body had to move. The body, too, changed. The movement. Seol-Hwi immediately noticed that the red dots appearing one by one represented the body's blood points. All the energy flowed through the blood points towards a single destination, just below the belly button. It lingered there and then was delivered to the hands. Ah! Soon, Seol-Hwi gasped in admiration. He saw the shadow's fists turn gray as they collected energy. Then, the shadow began to use its fists. The energy in its hands spread in both directions, smashing through walls and ceiling. Even as an illusion, its bizarre destructive force could not be overlooked. And now it was his. Next is White Light Demonic Arts Learnt. Fiery Bare-Handed Demonic Arts Learnt. Peak Flourishing Demonic Arts Possible. Seol-Hwi couldn't suppress his expectations. This was a great martial art, second to none. It was also used by the Lord of the Supreme Pavilion fairly often. Seol-Hwi never could have imagined acquiring this kind of power before. Peak Flourishing Demonic Arts. Explosive flaming force, the shadow appeared once again, wielding a sword this time. The blood points were drawn on the body, and energy traced a path from point to point. Then, the shadow's sword struck. The energy exploded outward like a mighty tidal wave. It punched clean through wall after wall without slowing down. Seol-Hwi worked hard in the basement. Read, hot palm imitation, learnt doesn't mean implemented, not perfectly at least. Surely he would become stronger when he mastered it, so he tried his best to change the text. Explosive flaming force, imitation. It was obvious after comparing against the shadow. Even though he'd learned all three with the help of the system, he couldn't match the energy the shadow released. Even when he used the white light demonic arts, he could only scrape the walls and ceilings, not break them. Probably because of internal energy. 80/250. If he could generate a greater internal flow, he might one day use the same force the shadow did. Well, swordsmanship imitation, fist imitation, footwork imitation, at least he'd gained all the options from one art this time around. 6 days passed. A middle-aged man came down to the basement the day Seol-Hwi was supposed to enter the military academy. Seol-Hwi, was it? I am Goan. The earth demon asked me to guide you. Seol-Hwi removed his sword and was about to pay his respects. Take this. Goan offered him a gray pill. It's a pill. Just one will give you 10 years' worth of internal energy. But such a precious. Don't say anything. This is the minimum you would need to survive there. Thank you. Seol-Hwi didn't ask any more questions and just swallowed the pill. He knew he had to get stronger. Health, 205 up arrow 85/205 internal energy, 2250 up arrow 2000/2250 such luck. Seol-Hwi's expression brightened. His stat had gone up by a whole 2000, but that wasn't all. You have mastered mind reading. What? He'd never even seen this ability before. Mind reading obtained. New description. Understand others' status. Strengthens your perception. Is this because of my increase in internal energy? It seemed that when certain conditions were met, stronger abilities were created. Seol-Hwi was obviously delighted by this unexpected boon. Status, Goan Earth Demon's bodyguard. Condition, normal, he could see other people's status windows, albeit only partially. Hostility, 77%, warning, no. Something he'd never seen before. Seol-Hwi couldn't help but doubt his eyes. Hostility, 77%, warning, a subordinate of the first disciple of the heavenly demon, double agent, spy. The military academy was located at the very heart of the sect and was supervised by its very highest ranks. Naturally, that meant it was a long way from the supreme pavilion, and that meant he had to walk the entire way alongside this new man. Hostility, 77%, warning, a subordinate of the first disciple of the heavenly demon, double agent, spy. Seol-Hwi kept checking it over and over. If this was true, it could considerably boost his standing with the Earth Demon. When did the first disciple even plant spies? No, it couldn't be that, right? He had his concerns, but the system had never lied to him. Even if it wasn't true, he was in no position to dig up the truth. Here. Goan stopped and pointed towards a majestic 5-story octagonal pavilion. Now that I have guided you, I will leave. Goan's manner of speaking annoyed Seol-Hwi enough that he hadn't talked to the man at all on the way here. Give me one more of the flying dragon pill from the Earth Demon. Is there anything you want to say to me? Expression, smile. Flying dragon pill, wasn't he already given a pill? Seol-Hwi found that perplexing, but that wasn't what caught his eyes. Expression. What is that supposed to be? An action rather than a conversation was interesting. What should I choose? 3, 2, 1. Continuing what? Goan's footsteps halted. What do you mean? I was just curious. About what? The military academy is a place for the chosen. That means not just the promising talents, but also first-class warriors who have proved their skills. So, the Earth Demon knows my skills, and giving me the pill means this place will be difficult to survive. That's why I asked, is it fine if I go in just like this? Will I make it simply by increasing my internal energy? Goan pondered for a moment with his eyes closed. Right. It won't be easy. He untied a strap from his waist. Here, take this. To Seol-Hwi's bewilderment, Goan was handing him a sword. Only the most suitable are chosen by the highest ranks of the sect to enter this place. You will learn various skills and the sect's secret ranks, Goan said. Just because the fourth disciple cared, do not forget to be grateful. Yes. The pressure Goan emitted made it difficult for Seol-Hwi to say anything more. When Goan had left, Seol-Hwi grasped the sword's hilt and pulled it from its sheath. Zone short sword obtained. View abilities. Except slash reject, weapon, sword, health +2, internal energy +2, attack +5%, agility +2% traits. Strangely uplifting, haha. Seol-Hwi could get used to this. Seol-Hwi looked down at the short sword strapped to his waist. Seems pretty good. Although the outer surface was made of simple iron, it was gorgeously engraved with the figure of a dragon and had a soft jade color that caught the eye. Since I don't know how to use it, should I put it in the toolbox? It would be troublesome if they asked him to give it up later. Do you want to open the toolbox? Seol-Hwi raised the sword and gently placed it into the window in front of him. Toolbox, medicinal herb zone, confectionery bar zone, bitten, map zone, short sword zone, new. Now it's good. Seol-Hwi passed through an endless line of gates to reach the entrance desk. Now he pushed open the last door. He saw an enormous space with an old man sitting at a table in the center, an academy instructor, responsible for supervising the tests here. Their skills were just below the lord of the Supreme Pavilion. However, they took orders directly from the highest level. No one could touch them. The man raised his head as Seol-Hwi bowed his head before him. Seol-Hwi, right? Yes. I see, he said dryly. He held something out. Take a look and choose. 4 pieces of bamboo were woven together, each with something written on it. Body, speech, writing, and judgment. What? Seol-Hwi shook his head. So his choice here would determine the contents of his exam. Body will test and train the body. Speech will deal with words. Then writing. Judgment had to be staying calm. It seemed like he should pick the path he was most confident in, but Seol-Hwi had no idea what the test would be like. He couldn't settle on a choice. I have to do it. The white-haired instructor stared at him. I will take this. You chose, body. The instructor nodded. He picked up a sheet of bamboo and handed it to Seol-Hwi. You need to collect 6 of the body bamboo sheets. You have 1 day and then the test is over. Proceed through the back door to the far right. Seol-Hwi was flustered. There had to be people who received the same conditions. That meant he had to kill 6 people to get their sheets. There are a lot of things in there. Books which everyone wants, treasures that might help you fight, weapons to kill with. If you look around, you can find a lot. Ah. Seol-Hwi immediately understood that searching would be a high-risk, high-reward option. You should go now. The instructor shut his eyes and settled back into his chair. The scenery behind the door was captivating. It was dotted with beautiful trees, a pond, piers, and stone walls like a walled garden. And the buildings, too. 2- and 3-story buildings decorated with colorful sculptures. Red roofs, blue roofs, yellow roofs, green roofs. Numerous buildings peeked out from between the trees like a rainbow. Is the slaughter going to begin? Seol-Hwi kept his eyes peeled as he crept forward. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he didn't even know where to start. Was it a test, not training? He had no information on his opponents, either. The danger is too great. He ducked beneath a stone wall just to be safe. This place would soon become the grounds for a battle to the death, like a coliseum. I need to be strong. What excuse did he have if he couldn't become strong even after all these chances? Seol-Hwi heaved himself up and cast his senses over his surroundings. Nothing. Did he come early? Were the others already prepared to ambush him? Maybe I should move there first? The closest red pavilion. It seemed like 3-story buildings had their first and second floors closed. Let's go. Seol-Hwi made the best of his footwork and arrived in front of the red tiled door in short order. Phew, thank God. It seemed like no one was around. Warning. An unidentified energy source has discovered Seol-Hwi. How will you respond? What now? Counterattack, defend, run away 9, 8. Nothing was certain in this situation. He'd had a similar message once. Counterattack. Defend, run away, but the options were different now. He had to make a decision, and not a single one made sense to him. Counterattack, defend, run away 2, 1. In the end, Seol-Hwi chose the safest option. You chose run away. Resuming. Seol-Hwi kicked off as soon as time resumed, but not soon enough. Quack! A long cut ran across his body from his shoulder blade to his waist. Pity! A shadow appeared. He seemed disappointed that his opponent had survived. Status. Seol-Hwi leader of the flying faction, body normal, stats health. 103, down arrow 102, / 205 internal energy. 1,220, down arrow 1,030, / 2250. His stats had dropped massively. State. Body normal value health. 680 / 685 internal energy. 470 / 550. The assailant's stats were lower than Seol-Hwi expected. It hurts. Seol-Hwi staggered and his expression twisted uncontrollably. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but neither could it be taken lightly. Luckily, it wouldn't hamper his movements. Health. 103, down arrow 102, slash 205. If the numbers drop again, he'd die. Brother, let's not waste my time. The man had a huge jaw and thin lips that couldn't hide his gums. His tone was sarcastic and confident. Having inflicted a severe wound, he must have been assured that he could win. I was thinking the same. Seol-Hwi drew his sword and clenched his teeth. He didn't know how strong the opponent was, but there was one thing he could check. Seol-Hwi, leader of the flying faction, health. 103, down arrow 102, slash 205 internal energy. 1,220, down arrow 1,030, slash 2250. Health. 685 slash 685 internal energy. 470 slash 550. His opponent's energy was lower than his. That meant he didn't need to be afraid. I'll use the white light demonic arts. Seol-Hwi eyed his opponent and carefully bided his time. He had skills no one knew about. This would be the perfect opportunity to test them. Why bother using you head? Before the other man could finish speaking, Seol-Hwi lashed out with the white light demonic arts. It cut into the man just like he had done to Seol-Hwi. I can win. Seol-Hwi's expression brightened. White light demonic arts, white like snow. The nature of these arts meant that the more the opponent fought back, the more the cold would affect him. This phenomenon forced Seol-Hwi's opponent onto the defensive. The man took another hit. Was that it? Seol-Hwi laughed and swung again. This time his opponent didn't respond. His body was too stiff and he dropped like an old tree. Phew. Health. 101, down arrow 2, slash 205 internal energy. 1,200, down arrow 20, slash 2250. His health had decreased a little. His internal energy had gone down too, probably because of his technique. It was still an imitation, but better than his previous tries. Is this a good or a bad thing? Seol-Hwi pondered the status window. Seeing people's condition at a glance wasn't bad, but it made him constantly think about death. Damn it, I need to find. Seol-Hwi pawed at the dead man's body. As expected, he too had a bamboo board with body written on it. He also found a fist-sized bottle in his sleeves. You have acquired the golden spear potion. Jackpot! He found medicine for healing slashes and spear wounds. It was said that anyone who could graduate from the military academy would become a great master. They believed that the military academy would make them stronger, but Seol-Hwi thought differently. This place didn't nurture warriors. It proved them. This is a bad start. Seol-Hwi was hiding out in an obscure room. If this goes on, I'll probably die again. My health keeps dropping too. Health. 96, down arrow 5. Slash 205 internal energy. 1,220 slash 2250. He'd torn up the dead man's clothes to staunch the bleeding. But his wounds weren't going to heal quickly, considering he couldn't even touch the cut on his back. Should I use this? Seol-Hwi fretted over the golden spear potion in his toolbox. He wanted to use it right away, but he knew this place had danger at every turn. What if he used it and then met someone he couldn't beat? He had lives left even if he did die, but dying now wouldn't yield any information. Seol-Hwi wanted to make his 2 lives count. Oh, it must be so embarrassing. If he's acting like this now, I don't know what he'd do in front of the 5 pavilions. Heh. Why is the Lord of the Supreme Pavilion at fault? This cheeky bastard is to blame. Seol-Hwi wanted to make those 2 old men bleed. For now, he took another look at the toolbox. Toolbox, medicinal herb zone, confectionery bar zone, map zone, sword zone, golden spear potion zone, new. For now, I'll put in everything that's important. He thought about using the sword, but reconsidered. Next time, he wanted to try one of Goen's different choices. I can use this, right? Seol-Hwi examined the medicinal herb. It didn't seem important, so he decided to try it. Do you want to use this? Accept slash reject. Seol-Hwi accepted. Applying. Seol-Hwi was immediately bewildered by the changes. Rather than placing it into his hand, the effect was directly applied to his body. Health. 98 up arrow 2, slash 205 effect. Prevents bleeding damage. Only 2 points of health, but it seemed like it was enough. The burning pain on his back disappeared. Just as he was preparing to move, he heard a shout, not from outside but from downstairs. "I need to move." Clang. Ha! Crack. A fierce clash was taking place near the entrance of the yellow building. "You bastard!" A young man in a green uniform leaned his battered body against his sword. It seemed like he'd taken a serious injury from his opponent's first move. "Ah, he all dang, you aren't all that," his black-clad opponent exclaimed. "It's a pity I met the most corrupt man in the Supreme Pavilion. You must be stupid. Sometimes you need to betray your own men to survive. You have no room to talk. You backstabbed your own men." "My men? What shit is that?" The two men had met by chance and agreed to help each other on the first test. However, one of them had decided to try and kill the other. The young man in green coughed up blood. Clearly, the other man's attack had caused him internal injuries. "Don't enjoy this situation too much. Before I go, I'll make sure you follow me to the underworld." "Bluffer." The black-clad man grinned and dashed towards him. The younger man raised his sword, but it was too late. His chest was already pierced by the other man's sword, or it should have been. The young man's scaly armor had deflected the blade. "Now do you understand?" The young man counterattacked, too quick for his opponent to avoid it. His sword lodged in the other man's chest, but it wasn't a fatal blow. "You bastard!" The black-clothed man hammered his fist down. "Damn it, don't tell me he's Chiako." There were 7 groups in the Supreme Pavilion: Black Earth, Black Sun, Black Moon, Black Fire, Black Water, Black Wood, and Black Metal, from strongest to weakest. Chiako was the leader of the Black Fire group. Like Jiak Mayung of the Black Moon, he was no ordinary person. In fact, he was stronger. "This is a chance. I can kill him." Seol-Hwi had been watching them from the hallway and spotted an opportunity. "Their skills are superior to mine. I have to finish it as quickly as possible. Can I use the status window?" The problem was, Seol-Hwi didn't know how to manage it. It always appeared at the right time, but he never knew when that would be. If only he could make it pop up, he could learn the enemy's skills and deal with them. "Will it open now? Maybe I can try looking at everyone as an enemy." Hadn't the status window only come up when the enemy was discovered, or he was exposed, like when he'd killed Jiak Mayung? So why isn't it coming up now? Ah, he's putting on the armor. Chiako was fumbling around with the dead man's gear. "Is this why my sword was deflected?" He seemed surprised by the thin scales. Seol-Hwi was getting increasingly anxious. He knew he would never get this kind of chance again. "I can't wait any longer. If he puts that on, I won't be able to hurt him anymore." "A great opportunity," discovered the Black Fire Captain Chiako. "How will you respond?" Attack. Use martial arts, use tools. 9, 8. The window appeared just in time, but use martial arts. Attack. What was the difference? Attack, use martial arts, use tools. Seol-Hwi decided attack would be the safest option. He could think about the other options later. 3 seconds back. "Is this why my sword was deflected?" Seol-Hwi took off without a second thought. He immediately figured out what 3 seconds back meant.